random job. This has nothing to do with anything.
Go for
I
it.
know a guy that owns a factory, and in America, you can stack beer 6 cases tall.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It's some number.
Well, yeah, I watch all those YouTube videos where forklifts are knocking over shit, and it's really fun because they stack them too high.
But in Canada, their limit is 5 cases tall. So I know a guy that owns the factory where they take the pallets that are 6 cases tall, repackage them into 5 cases tall to send to Canada.
Like that's what
the
he
job.
does.
Yes.
Isn't that funny?
It's
Everything's got to
insane.
be something, you know what I mean? There's one guy or girl that spends their time putting this, felt inside this thing probably. Like that's their job. They go home and they're like, how much did you do today? Oh, I did about 820 today. It's a pretty good job.
Yeah, no, what you're talking about there is a 13-year-old in China.
Yeah,
who
exactly.
does that.
Oh, I don't want to think about that.
Which is a really good segue into this movie. Like, I like
Oh, yeah,
how
there you go.
futures always have the Chinese or the Asia winning out.
Yeah,
Like-
everything has like a real Japanese kind of feel to it, like it takes over. And I don't know, maybe I don't know, maybe Ridley Scott was a fan of Japanese art or something, where his production manager was.
I'm a really big fan of Ridley Scott. Like, it's just crazy watching these movies. It's nuts. All right, should we get started?
Let's get into it.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Aaron and Justin Talk Sequels. I'm Justin,
I am Aaron.
and today we are covering the 2017
Yep.
classic Blade Runner 2049.
Is it too early to be a classic?
It is too early, yeah. Which is a sequel to the 1982 film Blade Runner.
That was the year we were born.
It
Isn't
is
that crazy?
And what's even crazier is this is Ridley Scott's 3rd film.
Yeah. The Duelist, wasn't that
The
his
Duelist.
first one? And
I
then
think.
there was like a little production he put together. Might have been a TV movie. I don't know.
I think it was a TV movie.
Really forgotten. Second
it's
film
hard to
that he
find
made.
nowadays.
It's hard to find.
It was called Alien.
Yeah, Alien. That's right. Real generic name there. But I guess it got him a little bit of a name so he could make this Blade Runner film. So that
Yeah.
all worked out for him.
Well, I mean,
Because who was gonna direct a unicorn Tom Cruise movie if he wasn't able to make Blade Runner and get big off that, right?
what?
Legend.
Oh, I've never seen it.
I don't know if that's his follow-up, but I think it came out in 85. So if Blade Runner's 82, did he make something in 83 or 84 before he made Legend with Tom Cruise about unicorns?
Okay, what is the plot of Legend? I don't even know.
There's like one unicorn left, I believe, and they have to save it. And Tom Cruise is like some sort of fairy or elf or something like that who has to go on, an 80s, classic 80s fantasy journey kind of film. But Tim Curry's in it, and he plays the devil.
Oh,
and he has an amazing makeup job for that, those huge horns and everything. So it's got a lot of good stuff to it, but I don't think it was thought about very fondly nowadays.
Someday I think I'll see it. And yes, he followed up Blade Runner with Legend.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
He got into the fantasy thing.
And then Someone to Watch Over Me, which I've never seen.
Yep.
Black Rain. It's not Purple Rain, Black Rain.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if Black Rain was a sequel to Purple
Wouldn't
Rain?
it? That would be.
And then Thelma and Louise.
Yep.
So, yeah, the guy knows how to regroup and make a hit after the failed Purple Rain sequel. But
I think he made 2 classic films early on, but nobody really thought of them as classics until maybe the 90s,
yeah, like Alien was a pretty big hit. I don't know if Blade Runner was an immediate hit. I think it's at least made its money. Yeah. 30 million budget, box office 41 million. So he just squeaked by.
Well, that was probably US, right?
I'm guessing that's total. Like in the 80s, I don't know if they had a huge worldwide stuff. Yeah, I think that's total.
Okay.
So, what's your memory of Blade Runner, man? When do you remember seeing this for the first time?
I have no idea. I'm sure it was sometime as a teenager, like when we were first getting into movies and our pretentious stage that we like to talk about, when we had to watch all the movies everybody was talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
So this was definitely one of them.
This was definitely a shoulder shrug for me growing up.
Was it?
I think there was just too much 80s synth music in the background to really appreciate it.
Well, when I watched it a couple days ago for the first time in a long time, you were asking me which one we should watch, and I said, well, probably just the theatrical version, because I know this is one movie that has many versions. And I got to tell you, like within like the first 5 minutes, I was really like surprised that there was a voiceover. I was like, what the fuck? And Harrison Ford sounded so uninterested in his voiceover too. I'd never heard it before. So I think I had never seen the original version of Blade Runner. I think I've always only ever seen the final cut version or the director's cut version or whatever version, right? Because I did not remember that there was a narration in it.
And I own the final cut, but I've still never taken the time to check it out.
I also seem to remember that I'd always misremembered or maybe remembered, because maybe I had seen those newer versions, that him being a replicant was actually played a bigger role than it actually did in the movie. So I think I only saw those newer versions.
That's something that we will definitely touch on in a second. Let's go through the plot of the movie real quick. It's actually a pretty simple plot.
It is.
Harrison Ford is a cop. And
Deckard. What was his first name?
Great movie name. What is his first name?
Come on. You were supposed to say it immediately because you knew it so well.
I did, but now I'm blanking. What is it? Rick Deckard.
Oh, damn it. Rick Deckard.
Yep. He's a retired cop. His job used to be to hunt down replicants or androids. What do you call these? They're just straight robots.
They're not robots. They're clones, right?
No, they're just robots.
No, they're not robots. They're clones.
They're not clones.
Yes, they are. They're flesh and blood.
Ish.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're more... I don't know. It's so funny that I'm not sure about this. I'm pretty sure they're clones, and they call them replicants. Like, they're actually based on people.
Actually, I'm Wikipediaing it. A replicant is a fictional bioengineered being in the 1982 film Blade Runner. The series is virtually identical to adult humans, but have superior strength, speed, agility, resilience, and intelligence, depending on the model.
So maybe they're not clones based on other people, but they are completely biological, produced humans.
So they're... Okay, see, that's a nice way of thinking about it.
Yeah, the confusing part is that the book it's based on is called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip Dick. So I think that's why people think they're androids. And I've never read the book. I read about the book, and I also can't tell you whether they're actually androids in there or not, but they may be more androids in the book than they are in the movie. Which they're not at all.
Maybe the earlier models were more robotics.
That's possible, yeah.
I looked up where the name Blade Runner came from.
Yeah.
And I forgot.
It has nothing to do with the movie whatsoever, or even the book. Ridley Scott apparently saw another screenplay for a movie called Blade Runner, which was based on a book called Blade Runner, totally not this story, and he thought it was a cool name. Yep. So he was like, can we get that name for this movie? And they were like, yeah, sure. So that's how it happened. So it is called Blade Runners. There's no explanation why, but it is a cool name.
That's exactly right. It's just cool. So 6 replicants. Replicants aren't allowed on Earth. They're only allowed as slave labor on off-world planets. And in this world, anybody who's anybody has left Earth because Earth is just a big pile of crap.
Right.
And so 6 of these replicants break out and steal a ship and come back to Earth, and one of them gets killed in the process.
So then there's 5.
Yeah, so there's 5 replicants, and Harrison Ford's boss forces him to come back to work and hunt down 4 of these replicants.
One last job.
And that's the way he says it. So there's 5, and we need you to hunt down these 4.
Yeah. I didn't want to have to watch the movie all over again, but I just feel like there was an explanation what happened to that other one.
There wasn't
You're
one
sure
at
there
all.
wasn't, and that's why people think it's Harrison Ford, but I just don't know about that.
I paid really close attention
Okay.
when I heard that.
I'm with you.
Yeah. And so the rest of the movie, Harrison Ford is hunting down these robots, and it takes you on this fun detective journey where he's following the clues, and eventually he gets all the robots. That's it. That's how it works.
That's
And
pretty
then
much the story, yeah.
he runs away with a robot and lives happily ever after.
Well, I mean, you kind of glazed over that portion. I mean, in the midst of his detectiving, trying to find these people, he goes to where they were, to the guy Tyrell that like built them, right?
Yeah.
Or made them, like the guy that's the head of this whole company, and that's where he meets Rachel, who is like a secretary, who doesn't know she's a replicant, but when he did the test, because there's a test that Blade Runners do to find out if you're a replicant, he knew she was, and he very quickly falls in love with her. Basically, Deckard falls in love with Rachel.
Yeah, which is problematic.
But she seeks him out again, basically. I mean, that's how it all comes. It's not like he just falls in love with her there. I think he's very attracted to her. And he's amazed that she's a different kind of replicant who doesn't know she's a replicant. And then she searches him out because she kind of gets the idea that, oh, maybe I am a replicant. So that's how their interactions happen a little more often. And then he falls in love with her.
Because she shows up at his apartment.
Yep.
And he's just so hot for her. He's just like, I'm gonna kiss you now. And he very roughly kisses her.
Yeah, but she likes it that way, so it was okay.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know either. I felt the same thing watching it. I was just like, Jesus.
Yeah,
Take
this
it
is
easy,
awkward.
Harrison.
Apparently,
this would not fly nowadays.
They definitely cut that scene down. Ridley Scott said that there
You
was
think
some
so?
rough sex in there.
Oh, okay.
But it made Harrison Ford look too much like a
Creep.
dick.
Yeah.
And something worth pointing out is that she has photographs in those memories were implanted from his niece.
Yes, Tyrell's niece.
Yes. And I like Tyrell here just because he's clearly just a mad genius.
Yeah.
Like,
He's like Dr. Moreau, basically.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Rachel is just going to live out a normal human life. He gave her expanded lifespan.
Yeah, that's another point, that most of them have a limited amount of time. And the 6 that escaped apparently only had 4 years. Now, do all of them have 4 years, or does it just have to be those in particular had 4?
I think they were the Nexus 6 models. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, they came back to Earth specifically to figure out a way to live because they really liked living, which you can't blame them.
But they're immediately shown to be kind of evil. You know what I mean? But in a way, it's like they're revolutionaries, so you're supposed to feel for them at the same time, and they're trying to get by. But at the same time, they really clearly have no problem with murdering or stealing or being just kind of evil people in order to survive.
Which
Because
I've
we
always
meet
taken
that one
as
replicant who got arrested at the very beginning when he's getting his test done. He immediately kills the person because he's going to be found out, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And I gotta find those replicants real quick because there's 4 distinct types.
Yeah. And Rutger Hauer and Daryl Hannah, who play 2 of them, kind of a weird swinger couple, it seems like.
So was Daryl Hannah the pleasure model or was she the fighting model? I
don't know.
I was never sure.
He talked about her like she was a pleasure model, though, right?
Yeah.
But,
because,
you know, you can learn to do anything, I guess.
The other one was actually at working as a stripper.
Right. And that's where Deckard found her and was able to take her down.
Oh.
Because something like she was in a photograph or something. It was a little, I even thought like, well, that's some damn good detective work if that's you putting all that together. Somehow he found her and he was able to take her out.
It was there was a fish scale, or there was a snake scale in Leon. Was it Leon? In his bathtub, there was a snake scale that he traces back to the guy that made it, and then from there He figures out who bought it, and that's when he goes and sees her.
Right.
So, Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
He's been in 12... Oh, so we have Harrison Ford, who's at the top of his career. That's obvious. Rutger Hauer has the craziest career.
Yeah.
He has been in a billion bad movies and maybe 3 or 4 good ones. It's kind of the way I see it.
But what good ones, you know? I mean, he was, especially being in Blade Runner, it kind of gave him a pass and made him a known figure, you know?
Yeah, that's what you would think. But are you excited
It's
for
up
this?
and down. It's up and down for those guys from those certain countries. He's like Swedish or something like that, right?
Very active throughout the 70s. He is something. I'm not on that page. So he is in Blade Runner in 1982, and he follows that up with The Osterman Weekend, A Breed Apart, Eureka, Terror in the Isles, Lady Hawk, Flesh and Blood, The Hitcher, Wanted Dead or Alive, The Legend of the Holy Drinker, Desert Law, Blind Fury, As Long as It's Love, The Blood of Heroes, Bloodhounds of Broadway. So all those movies that I just listed in a very boring way,
right?
He made them all in the 80s.
Yeah.
Do you want to
know
know
The
how
Hitcher?
many movies?
Did you ever watch The Hitcher?
I think I have.
He's also in a movie with Sylvester Stallone and Lando Calrissian. I can't remember what the hell that's called, but he's a bad guy in that. So anyway, he got typecasted as this freaky bad dude with blonde hair. I think that led into all these movies in the 80s, and then he just couldn't carry it on in the 90s.
Oh, he carried it on, sir.
He did, but like you said, not a lot of great ones.
So yeah, he is in movies here and there that you recognize. He was in Buffy.
Yep.
He is in Batman Begins.
Yep.
He's in Sin City. So here and there, there's movies. But do you know how many movies he has made since Blade Runner? It's ridiculous.
I'm gonna say 100.
97.
Oh, that's pretty good.
97.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So yeah, he's probably very rich, and I respect him just for his work ethic.
Yeah.
But beyond that, so going back to the cast of Blade Runner, did you realize who Rachel was?
Sean Young.
Yeah.
Yeah. She got okay. It was either Annette Bening was going to be Catwoman, and then she got pregnant, so she left. And then I think Sean Young was going to be Catwoman, and then she got injured, so they had to recast her with Michelle Pfeiffer. That's how that all went down. Anyway, no, I take that all back. Sean Young was going to be Vicky Vale.
Oh,
that's how it worked. And then she had to be recast, I think, because she was injured. And then she was fighting hard with Tim Burton to be Catwoman, but he never agreed to it. He always wanted Annette Bening, and then when she got pregnant, he went with Michelle Pfeiffer. Anyways, that's how it happened. But I know what you're getting at is that she is...
Thank you.
Finkel and Einhorn, right? From Ace Ventura. Is that what you're getting at?
That is what I'm getting at.
Exactly.
She's the bad guy in Ace Ventura.
Right. Another movie that may not play well nowadays, but it's because she was a football player, right?
Yep.
Who, God, I can't fucking, like, he failed during the championship game or something as a kicker, and then he changed his sex, and then he became a woman, and now she's the chief of police or whatever. So there's that funny scene I always remember when Jim Carrey's like, Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel isn't. He just keeps saying it anyway. So yeah, there you go. What the hell happened to her after that?
Well, she was just either directing or directing a movie or a TV show or something, and she got fired. And they called the cops on her because she took 2 of the laptops from the production.
Ugh.
Yeah. And then she explained that she thought they were hers, and that,
that's not the kind of thing when you're in Blade Runner you want to have to deal with when you get older.
Pretty awkward.
It's kind of lame. It's like when Winona Ryder got arrested for shoplifting or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Winona, come on. You're better than that.
Come on, Winona.
Got to have a little class.
Ace Ventura, 1994, Jim Carrey. Did you know those movies all came out in the same year?
Ace Ventura: The Mask,
and Dumb
Dumb
and
and
Dumber.
Dumber. Yeah. Oh, it was like his magic year. Like I don't think he ever beat that. And then he immediately got the Riddler after that, so he was riding pretty high.
Yeah, like he started that year. The first one he made like 20,000, and by the time the last one came out, he made like 9 million.
Yeah,
Don't quote those totals. I don't know what they are.
It was up there. It was a lot of money.
We got
so that's Sean Young.
Yeah, we got Edward James Olmos in here.
Yep.
God, I'm a fan.
Did you watch Battlestar Galactica?
Every episode like a
Really?
dork. Yes.
The new ones. Interesting. Okay.
Oh, they were so good.
Because I knew he was in that, but I'm not really familiar with him other than that. But I never watched it. I just know he was in it.
Oh, and he was good in it. Emmett Walsh. Who is that again?
He's the boss. He's the police chief or whoever he is.
Bryant.
Fantastic character actor. You know, he's always showing up at some as some overweight asshole drunk in tons of movies. I don't know what they're in, but when I see him, I know him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just saw his old man picture, and he's
a great
awesome.
character actor. He's one of our best. I don't know if he's still alive though or not.
He is alive.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Way to hang on, bud.
And
then Daryl Hannah.
Yep.
She's fine. She's never blown my mind.
She's good. And I don't know if she's always been utilized in the right way, but you know, she was in Splash, which was great. She was perfect for that.
And Roxanne.
Yeah, she was good in that. And then Memoirs of an Invisible Man.
Memoirs.
You know, the Chevy Chase one,
which I like and everybody
John
else
Carpenter
hates.
film.
I don't know if I ever realized that, and that makes me sad.
Paycheck movie, but you know,
Chevy
it's not
Chase.
a bad film. And you love Chevy Chase, right?
I love Chevy Chase. That old.
I guess
bastard.
it was a real vanity project of his. Like he bought the book rights in the '80s when it came out, like shortly after it came out, and he was just really pushing to get somebody to make it, and he finally convinced Carpenter to do it. So yeah,
interesting.
Quentin Tarantino, of course, used Daryl Hannah for his Kill Bill movies, so he brought her back a little bit. And now you know who she's married to?
Yeah. I just saw that. Neil Young.
Yeah. I guess he left his wife, Peggy Young, who they were married for like 30 years. I don't know, but that long. And, the mother of all his kids for Daryl Hannah. You know, I don't know. I mean, maybe they weren't getting along or whatever. But then she ends up dying of cancer, like, shortly after. It just looked real shitty on Neil Young.
Oh, my God, that sounds awful. And for Daryl Hannah, I'm confused.
Yeah. Well, they're both like, she's like, both very hippie. It's just a hippie thing. You know what I mean? Like, they're just hippie artists. And I think they really connected in that way. Like, she's just kind of one of those old-fashioned hippies. So if you're going to marry any rock star, it might as well be Neil Young.
The guy that played Leon,
yep,
he's been in a lot of stuff, too.
I know I've seen him, but I can't place him.
If you pull up his Wikipedia, you'll see that face, and you'd be like, oh.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can get lost in all of this casting, can't we?
Oh, it's almost over. James Hong. Oh, James Hong's been in everything.
Oh, yeah. James Hong, man. He was in Chinatown and Big Trouble in Little China, Wayne's World. He was Tia Carrera's father, remember?
Oh, my God. Was he the guy in that Seinfeld episode?
Yeah. At the Chinese restaurant. That was James Hong, totally. 5-10 minutes.
Off topic, did you see that cut they put together of like a prestige Seinfeld reboot?
No, I didn't. I saw the headline for it, and it didn't pull me in to watch it.
It's not worth it. It's very David Lynch, and yeah.
Well, they love to do that. They love to take comedies and turn them into horror movies or something, horror movie trailers. I saw one for like Schitt's Creek, It was effective for like a minute, and then it just got a little old.
Do you watch Schitt's Creek?
Yeah, we just actually finished the 5th season, so we're on the very final season now.
I think I haven't watched anything past 3 or 4, and
you know what? It's a good show, and I'm sure it ended well. But if you just watch 3 seasons, that's really all you need. I feel like it's a great show, but they just kept kind of repeating themselves, and it just kind of didn't really know what to do with anybody. But I do think that first season's pretty magical. Like, they threw everything at it because I think they didn't know if they'd have another season. But once they realized they had a hit and they had another season, they were like, oh shit, I guess we should have held some things back. So then they had to like change things in the second, like to make it make sense that they would even fucking stay here, you know? Anyway.
Yeah. Have you watched, we are going on some tangents here, but have you watched WandaVision?
Yes.
I have not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They just came out with a 5th episode, and we haven't seen that yet, but we watched 4.
I think it got spoiled for me. I think.
That's why I made sure to watch it after a couple days. I think after like 2 episodes came out, I was just like to my wife, I was like, "We got to watch this, or I'm just gonna get ruined on it." So, but
just the 5th episode I think has gotten spoiled. Nothing else has been spoiled because what's her name? What is her name?
Elizabeth Olsen.
Yes. Did you know she's the sister of the Olsen twins?
I did. She's the younger sister, I believe, right?
I didn't.
Isn't that funny that she's the younger sister of those kids? But they're not kids anymore.
Nope.
I think they're our age, actually.
Yeah, some older women with eating disorders.
Oh, my
but no, she said that there was going to be a guest star on the level of Luke Skywalker in Mandalorian.
Well, don't ruin it for me.
Well, no, that's what she said. And so the internet was ablaze with who might it be. And I haven't had it directly spoiled, but I'm pretty sure I know.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I don't, so I'd prefer to keep it that way. But in the 4th episode is really where they kind of give everything up. Unless everything changes again, which is completely possible with this kind of show. But you don't know what the fuck's going on for the first 3. And then the 4th, you're like, oh, I get it. I mean, but again, there's like 4 more episodes to go, so they could change it all. I don't really know.
Not having seen anything, and you don't have to tell me if I'm right or wrong, she is in the middle of a mental breakdown following the events of Avengers Endgame. She's locked up somewhere, and she's living out these different realities in her head. But she's so powerful, she's making some of this reality become reality, and it's fracturing everything, and it's going to become an issue.
I don't know if she's locked up.
You're not supposed to acknowledge anything because I have no idea. I haven't seen any of it yet.
But if you said all that, then somehow you've read and figured it all out. So
nope, I have not read a single thing.
Well, I'll just say that you could be right. And again, I've only seen 4 episodes, and the way this show is going, it could all be totally turned around where we think we know what's going on and all of a sudden we don't. So far, do you think Marvel is successful in their efforts to expand the cinematic universe to TV? They certainly have appropriate level of production design and CGI graphics. Like they didn't, because it's like you make movies for millions and millions and millions of dollars, so you have the top of the line special effects, and then when you do TV, you always see like it's just not the same, but it kind of looks the same. So that's what I think they've done well, is that it looks like they're really trying to make it a piece with the movies, because even all those Netflix Marvel series, it just was like they had to be a little more raw because they just didn't have the resources that the movies had, but they were yet supposed to be connected.
Right.
Or even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for fuck's sake. Like, that doesn't look at anything like it's part of the Marvel Universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this show actually does. So that's my point, is that I feel like the same people that make the movies and the same companies that work on the movies are the same people that's working on this show. So that's kind of cool. So it looks pretty expensive, I guess.
That's good.
As far as is it a success? The show's fun. Like, it's not bad. But if after watching 4 episodes, you figure everything out, then I don't know what's keeping me around for the next 4. I guess I was hoping they would keep the mystery, more of a mystery, a little longer.
They have to have some twists and turns coming.
There's probably some twists and turns, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since you just mentioned the 5th episode that they have this huge I don't know where that fits in. So
well, no, I don't know if it goes into the 5th episode. She just said there's one coming.
Oh, okay.
And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but it's good. I recommend it. But here's another thing. What the fuck? We're talking about it anyways. I wonder if the millennials, and we're technically a millennial. I think millennial goes from like early 80s on up.
I can't believe we're millennials. It's 1982 until
Yeah.
something else. But yeah, we're the
Well,
oldest
see, what I
millennials.
thought millennials meant when I was younger and I would hear that term is that, like a teenager, I started to first hear that term. I thought it meant you came of age in the year 2000. But now they're saying millennials are when you're born around the year 2000 as well, is what a lot of people mean. And I'm just like, well, that's not me. I was like 18 in the year 2000. I wasn't born, whatever. Anyways, I'm asking, like, anybody born around the millennium, how many of those people saw Dick Van Dyke or have any idea about I Love Lucy or any of those shows from the 50s, 60s, and then even into the 70s, like the Monkees or the Partridge Family? So I just wonder if kids are watching this and being like, what the fuck is this? Because it's not that funny unless you know why it's funny for the first 2 episodes, because it's all black and white. It's basically Dick Van Dyke.
Right.
Like, are they going to give a shit about this? Like, I think they're taking a risk on even thinking that their fan base are going to even know where the fuck this is coming from. You know what I mean?
Which is pretty ballsy on their part
Yeah.
to take any risks, and it's cool.
So maybe that's a good thing, is that they take risks no matter what. And I do like that.
There was an article in the internet. This can be a great long segue, and I hope you're enjoying it, audience. There was a article on the internet about how Marvel uses previs. Do you know about previs?
No.
It's basically the big action set pieces. That's their word for having all the big action set pieces of movies mapped out. So like most of the special effects for like Avengers
pre-visual
Endgame
is what you're saying. Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know. They just say
Yeah.
previs.
Gotcha.
Has been done in advance, and most of the time it's outside of a director's control how that's going to actually play out.
Yeah.
Just the action set pieces. And then James Gunn got really pissy at this article, and he made it very clear that with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, he mapped it all out, and he was responsible for all the previs for the movies, and that's fun. Like, there's
I
always
think
this,
I think it's a little of both. I think he's trying to defend himself because he does work for a machine that has pretty much set rules about what he can and cannot do. But I do think somebody like him does have a little more leeway than your average director.
yeah, like, and that's the
Because he
constant-
wrote it, which is a big thing. I think that's why.
He wrote it, and like obviously Kevin Feige, gets to say stuff, but
Yeah.
James Gunn's always been really outspoken about they really just needed a connection to the Infinity Stones. That was it. And so he had the leeway to actually, I forget which ones were in Guardians, but he basically got to invent what happened with that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Directors
But
in
that's
the Marvel
because
universe.
he was doing the Guardians. I mean, it was outside of everything, right? So of course you can have more leeway. If he was in charge of Avengers, of the team proper, you wouldn't be able to do anything like he thought, like you'd probably want to do. I think Whedon had to take a lot of direction and to know what he could and could not do. But he's a company man, and I think he was fine with it. And and even though they're company people, they're still making fun movies, so I think that's okay. But someone like Edgar Wright wasn't down with it, But also because his Ant-Man movie was in development even before it was a cinematic universe, so that was like a double fuck you, It was like, oh yeah, your movie's gonna be part of this thing now, so now we got to go over it and we got to tell you exactly what you can and cannot do. And he's just like, hey, fuck you, man, I don't want to do that. I was making my own Ant-Man movie.
But yeah, there's some creative stuff in the Marvel universe, and everybody likes to call them drones. But yeah, the directors get to do some stuff. Was all.
I'm sure Raimi for the Doctor Strange thing, I'm sure he gets a lot of leeway.
I am super worried about that one.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Are they ever going to bring back Tony Stark?
No,
Are they going to bring back Chris Evans?
like there's rumors about Evans re-upping for some movies.
Yeah.
But
As like
if-
the old man Captain America, who was like the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a while in the comics. Do you remember
I'm
that?
assuming they're gonna do it's definitely gonna be the multiple universes things. So there's room for anybody to come back.
Yeah.
I don't see Robert Downey Jr. doing it.
I don't see this cinematic universe they have, all these characters they have left over, I just don't think they equal the storyline that Tony Stark had. I just don't see them. And then like Chadwick Boseman dies, you know what I mean? All these people, their top people that could have taken over, they're all just kind of second stringers now, you know?
Chris Hemsworth is still hardcore in there.
Okay, that's true. Hemsworth, true. Okay, I'll give you that one. But it's just too goofy to be.
And he's no longer Fat Thor. Like, he's immediately back into shape.
Right. Well, he has to be, right? But he's just kind of a dumb meathead, though. You know, I mean, he's not the genius that's Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So I just don't know how successful it's going to survive without someone like Robert Downey Jr. literally leading every film, mostly. You know.
Oh, did you forget about Reed Richards and Sue Storm?
Whatever.
Come on.
But they're getting brought in after all this, after the fact.
Well, yeah, and it's got to be from a multiverse thing. It has to be.
I guess.
I hope it's John Krasinski. I hope it's John Krasinski.
I don't know.
I love him, and it would be great, but it doesn't have to be a white guy. It can be whoever.
How do you make the Fantastic Four work in the year 2021, though? You know, in the 2020s.
I know. Did you see that last one?
I did, and that's not how you make it work.
It's not how you make it work. I didn't see it.
They went dark, but it doesn't. They're too goofy to be a new movie, and they're not dark enough to be a new movie. You know, like I just don't know how to make that work. It's too goofy.
I don't know how you handle the Thing. You can handle everybody else, but
the stretching power. It's pretty goofy. It works in comics, you know? Like the new Miss Marvel has stretchy power.
Yeah, and she's going to have a TV show too.
Exactly. I just don't know how that's going to work. I think it's just too goofy. Some things don't have to be movies. I'm just that guy. I just don't think everything has to be a movie.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it shakes out. So
anyways, we're talking about the sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yep.
Called I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Where they haven't
Isn't that
forgotten.
what we're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, they haven't forgotten.
Well, I have not watched those movies since they came out.
I just watched I Know What You Did Last Summer, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. For some reason, it was late. I was like, fuck it, let's do it.
Interesting. Wait, did you stream it or do you own a copy?
No, I streamed it. It was on like, I don't know what it was on. Like it was on Prime or something.
I think the kids would enjoy watching that. I might make
it.
Them watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's no Scream. You know, Scream was a lot of fun. So they were just trying to get that magic, and it was written by the same guy, but it's just, I don't know. It just wasn't that good. Anyway,
it's a guy in a raincoat. So Blade Runner. Harrison Ford's a robot, or he's a replicant.
He's not a robot. Jesus.
All right. So
you're sure he's a replicant?
If you don't know, audience, big fan debate for years on whether or not Harrison Ford was a replicant in the movie. And I didn't really care. I don't think it's relevant to the movie, but I figured I would just settle it once and for all. He is a replicant. Now, this movie is great filmmaking because they show you a whole world and they don't over-explain it, even with a weird voiceover. But yeah, let's start at the very beginning. There were 6 replicants that escaped. One got killed, which leaves how many, Aaron?
5.
And how many did the police chief want him to take out?
4.
4.
Yes.
And so we have a 5th one that's just never mentioned. I contend.
Now, I have to interrupt.
Yes.
Are you saying Harrison Ford was on an off-world colony? He's a replicant, and he took a ship with the rest of these people down to Earth because he knows them, and then he immediately became a cop?
No.
And then now
that's the one thin part of this story is that none of the other replicants seem to recognize him. Or if they do, it's just through a look. Because those replicants immediately attack him.
Yes.
Like, how do they know to immediately attack him? He's just another guy.
They just know he's a Blade Runner, man. He looks like a Blade Runner.
So...
But Rick Deckard is a guy that's been on Earth for his whole life, and he's been a Blade Runner for, I don't know, 20 years or something.
You have no reason to believe that.
Well, the chief seems to know that he is, and Almos, who is his partner or whoever he is, they seem to know him. So that's why I'm saying, like, they can't be. That's why I think they might be clones of people, and that somebody replaced the real Rick Deckard, and that's why he's a replicant. If you want to follow this line of thinking that he could be a replicant.
Yeah, I think he's just born in a machine, and they can just produce human bodies, but I don't think they're clones. But no,
well, explain that.
Okay.
Explain any of this to me. Like, how could he be one of those 6? Because they say 6 people came, but it like just happened.
So
like within I don't know, the year, right?
Well, they're already working on it though. They had already sent a Blade Runner to try and find these people that had already taken jobs. So they've been there long enough where that first guy, Leon, he's actually working at the Tyrell Corporation as a new hire.
Yeah.
So they're not just straight off the ship.
But you do admit that Rick Deckard has been a Blade Runner for years.
No.
And he's basically retired.
No.
Remember? Because they wanted to bring him back.
Okay. Well, see, that's the story that they told him. Like, why is a guy who's in his 40s...
they know, you're saying they know he's a replicant.
Yeah, they're just messing.
See, I wasn't on that wavelength. So you're saying the chief and almost know that he's a replicant.
Yeah, the reason that they know that is they caught him. And whose memories did they give him?
Huh.
They gave him Edward James Olmos's memories. That's how he thinks he's a cop.
Oh.
And they just programmed the standard stuff of, your name's Rick Deckard, blah, blah, blah.
Now, none of this is in the movie.
Yes, it is. Well, I mean...
And not the version I saw.
None of that is stated.
Yes.
But that's where... Actually, Blade Runner 2049 goes way farther to state that directly, if you noticed it.
About Deckard?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice that then, I guess.
I
really paid attention. I promise I did. But I did not pick up on that.
So he's got Edward James Olmos's memories, and that's why Olmos is his liaison with the cops, basically. He's the one who always shows up, because he has an idea of what this guy's doing. So they go, and the movie starts with a Blade Runner interviewing Leon.
Mm-hmm.
And does that guy look like anything more than a pencil pusher?
No.
Like, he was the best. And even Edward James Olmos's memories, or Deckard's saying, why didn't you send him? He's great. Yeah,
that surprised me too. I did think about when they were like, he's the best. And I'm like, that guy? This guy?
These humans were just like, we're not capable of taking down one, let alone 4 or 5. What if we secretly take one of them, because it's illegal to have them on Earth, make him a Blade Runner and have him hunt these guys down and have him do the dirty work? He's just a dirty replicant. That's fine. That's the theory, and it holds together pretty well. The memories in his apartment, people like to say that he plays the same tune on the piano that Rachel plays, but I think that's dumb. But his eyes glowed. In the movie, I paid really close attention. The only eyes that glowed in that movie were replicants.
Okay.
And Harrison Ford's eyes glowed.
Now, why wasn't this a bigger part of the film? Or why wasn't this in the film at all? Why isn't this something that obviously the screenwriter would want to make happen?
Well,
or did he, and this is what got cut out of the movie?
I sent you that article.
Yeah, I didn't read it. I didn't want to think about it.
It was when the final cut was coming out, and they say, so is Deckard, why wasn't it written down that Deckard is a replicant? And Ridley Scott was like, oh, it was written down. Yeah, that was the plan the whole time. Like, so Ridley Scott's very on record that Harrison Ford was a replicant. Now, Harrison Ford is on record saying, I was not a replicant.
Yeah, and even the screenwriter, I think, said that he wasn't. Or somebody like that said that he wasn't. It was kind of 2 against 1 in what I read.
And you know what? I'd say the director of the film wins.
But here's the thing. if you don't put it in the movie, it doesn't exist. So it doesn't matter what the director intended. If you don't actually put it in the movie, in Blade Runner that came out in 1982, he's not a replicant. That's my point.
No, he is.
If it was intended for him to be, they shouldn't have cut everything out that made it so.
Then why did his eyes glow?
I don't remember his eyes glowing at all.
Yeah,
it might have been a camera flare.
They glowed. They glowed the exact same way. They glowed when he was in the apartment with Rachel. He walks out of the bathroom, his eyes are glowing, and then they fuck.
Maybe people's eyes just glow like dogs sometimes, depending on if you shine a light in their eyes.
Only ones in the movie that glowed at all were replicants.
This is so conspiracy shit. You have flown off the handle, man. I've never heard you talk like this.
So in the final cut, he really goes to hammer it home.
Yeah.
With Harrison Ford having a dream about a unicorn, and at the end of the movie, the symbolism of the unicorn that was left by Edward James Olmos changes to either Edward James Olmos read about the memories that were implanted, which is fine, but I say he knew about the unicorn because he had the same dreams, because those are the memories that they gave Harrison Ford.
Right.
So
as a story talking about the film and the way it should have been, yeah, he's a replicant. But I'm just saying, in the film that exists, he's not a replicant. He's a human. And the fact that he left a unicorn, it doesn't matter what kind of animal he left. He just left an animal because you saw that Olmos was always making origami figures. And it just showed that he was there and he was helping him escape, is what I took it as.
Yeah, he was giving them the heads up.
That's all. But it doesn't matter what it was. It just was an origami figure telling you that Olmos was there.
And okay, when we get into 2049, we will solidify that he is the replicant.
I can't wait for it. So at the very end, Harrison Ford takes Rachel and they leave.
Yeah.
Yep. And when I saw that ending, like, I don't remember seeing that part. So again, maybe that wasn't in the original, or maybe that wasn't in the final cut.
It was not in the final cut.
Yeah. So, and they're flying over that grassland. My first thought was like, oh, it's just like Kubrick. Like, that looks just like what he shot for either 2001 or The Shining. Because The Shining starts with really like helicopter or plane shots driving over land and stuff like that. Turns out Ridley Scott asked Kubrick if he could use some of the footage that he shot for The Shining for that end scene, and Kubrick was like, "Yeah, go ahead."
Are you
kidding?
Like,
what do you know? Yeah, isn't that funny?
That's amazing.
I was like, this is like The Shining, and that's what it was from.
Anyway. Yeah, the studio totally. This is one of those situations where the studio totally meddled. The studio added the voiceover. The studio added the happy ending, and Ridley Scott.
How was it supposed to end? How does the final cut end?
I've never seen it, but it's basically, it ends after they leave the apartment, and I think it just kind of, it's over there.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it's left ambiguous as to what the hell happened to these two.
But he is with Rachel at the end.
Yes.
In both versions. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So what do you think about the film? Anyway, do you like it?
I love it.
Yeah.
Something silly in there. We didn't really cover the guy. The replicants are trying to get to Tyrell. And so they go and they visit multiple, basically subcontractors, which I thought was neat. Just the concept of subcontractors, because it's not just Tyrell building these human things. There's a guy that builds the eyes. There's a guy that designs whatever that guy designed. And these characters are all so colorful, and the world is so real and lived in. Like, it's just an achievement.
Didn't he work on Memories, the guy that they end up shacking up with?
I can't
recall.
Think so. I think
because James Hong makes the eyes, and then they end up killing him, right? Rucker Hauer doesn't they kill him?
Oh yeah, they kill everybody in their wig
because they're evil. Because they're trying to get to Tyrell. But their whole motivation is that they all know they're going to die in 4 years, and they want to live. They want a real life. That's Rucker Hauer's motivation, at least. So then Daryl Hannah goes and finds another contractor, gets in good with him, and he's the one that helps Rucker Hauer get to the Tyrell Corporation and gets him in there. And he ends up killing Tyrell because it's like his father, and he hates him because he's just left. He's created somebody, only let him die in 4 years, and he takes that the wrong way. Because you kind of feel for him at the same time, but he's also, killing people on the way. So then when Deckard finally finds Daryl Hannah and Rutger Hauer, he kills Daryl Hannah after a fight, and then I guess he's just really outmatched when it comes to Rutger Hauer, and so the whole end thing is just him trying to escape in kind of a funny way, like he's climbing inside of the building and shit, and Rutger Hauer's just messing with him the whole time.
Yeah, because he's like a war robot or war replicant. And this is a hell of a performance. I really like Rutger Hauer in this movie.
Yeah, he's good.
His goal was life, and at the end, he valued life so much that he didn't want to take it away from this guy.
Yeah,
way
it was just kind of like, I just fucking with you the whole time. I'm just gonna sit over here and die. But you're good. You keep living. So replicant Deckard doesn't have a lifespan then? How come he wasn't one of those 6 that was going to die in 4 years?
Just like Rachel. And so I think that's kind of fun. He was either a different model, or when they reprogrammed him, they had to take him to Tyrell to reprogram him. And that's the suggestion, is that they altered him.
So Tyrell did have that capability. So why wouldn't he do it for Rutger Hauer then?
Because he knew that these guys had escaped and that they were dangerous.
But they're his children.
Yeah, but he was also a businessman. That dude really, he knew the shit. And it sounds like if you mess with the cops in this universe, that the cops are just straight up gonna kill you.
Okay.
Like the chief made that clear to Harrison Ford. You're either one of us or you're one of the little people, and you don't want to be one of the little people.
Well, I'll tell you what, this film definitely, it's made in a way that you think it's going to be confusing and hard to follow, and you really got to pay attention. But then it really turns out to be a very simple story,
Yes.
Almost like just a simple detective noir story, from back in the day, especially with a voiceover, gives it that feel. But I do think it's deserving of its classical status, in that, man, it just influenced everything that came after it.
Everything.
Futuristic movies, video games, comics, just everything, just like you said, the combination of American and Japanese consumerism put together is just it's like in every futuristic movie from 1982 on, everybody did it that way now.
Yeah, and I mean, between Alien and this movie, Ridley Scott really defined what science fiction was going to be for the next 50 years.
Exactly. And the idea that there's lower class people living below everyone else, that was like Final Fantasy VII, I remember, and even Alita Battle Angel, which we spoke about, in a couple episodes ago. It just really... The special effects were amazing. Everything's great about it, and it's deserving of its influential status, I think. However, having said that, though, I do like the film, but it's just not really my kind of sci-fi. I think that's why I don't love the film.
Really?
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of apocalyptic sci-fi, where everything's shitty, in the future. I think I've been more of the positive. I'm on the more of the positive side of sci-fi. Star Trek, Star Wars,
Fifth Element.
Yeah, totally. Fifth Element, 2001: A Space Odyssey, that kind of sci-fi. I guess that's more in line with what I like. I'm not so big on the body horror kind of futuristic that they want to in the future 2019.
I think I'm just a sci-fi whore. I like everything that you throw at me that's science fiction and in the future.
That's good. That's fair. I mean, I don't dislike it. I mean, I do like some body horror type things or whatever, but the things that make me want to rewatch it, these aren't generally the movies that I care to rewatch, I guess. Seeing it, respecting it for what it is, and then moving on is more my...
Yeah, I can't rewatch Blade Runner too often. This is a once every 3 to 4 years kind of movie for me.
Yeah, it's just kind of depressing, and it's dirty and rainy, and he's rough with her in the apartment, which kind of turns you off.
Yep.
And he's just kind of doesn't really fight at the end. He just kind of scurries away the whole time. That kind of turns you off. I think the movie is more fun to watch just for Rutger Hauer. I think he's such a...
He steals the show.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love, it's a theme that Ridley Scott revisits over and over in his later work on the concept of artificial life. Is it real life? and does it count? And
what's his name in the Covenant movie and stuff? Who's the android?
It's Magneto.
I think he's like a Rutger Hauer type, just without the craziness.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He's a decent actor.
And everything Rutger Hauer says in that movie is a poem.
Michael Fassbender.
Every single line is a poem. That got it. That I appreciated it, but it got to me after a while too.
Yeah,
like everything he says is a haiku. I don't know.
All right, so next we fast forward into the future. Now, did you do what I hope you did and watched the 3 short films they made before Blade Runner?
I didn't. Actually, I couldn't watch it because you shared the movie with me on Movies Anytime, but those were all locked out, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. I'd have to buy it in order to watch all the extra stuff, but I wasn't allowed to rent the movie from you.
Stupid. Yeah, they are on YouTube, so whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
I'm going to cover them real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
They did 3 short films to bridge the gap between 2019, which is the year of the original, and 2049, which is the year of the sequel. The first one is 2022, where the replicants are allowed to be on Earth again, but they don't like it because they're basically just being hunted and killed. So they go and they cause a giant blackout that erases all hard data of who is a replicant and who is not a replicant. And so, yeah, that's the first one.
And I got that, and that is in the movie. Like, I figured that out, that there was some sort of blackout that wiped out past all their knowledge of everything in the past. And that's why it was a little easier for replicants to escape or something.
Yep,
or to live among humans.
In the 2049, they reference pre-blackout or post-blackout. In 2036, Nexus Dawn, this is where we get Jared Leto working with the government.
Wallace,
yes. We have Blind Wallace negotiating with the government, who's run by Benedict Wong, which is awesome.
Oh, really?
He wants to be able to start making replicants again so that they can once again reach for the stars and once again just start to thrive. And Wallace was famous because after the blackout, it disrupted the supply chains and everybody started to starve. And it was Wallace that basically created those slugs. Like, he basically engineered lots of
Dave
food.
Bautista was farming.
Yes.
At the beginning of the movie. Okay.
And then there's one last one starring Dave Bautista.
And that was cool with everybody, that they had to eat slugs?
I think it was...
Because the people on the Snowpiercer train were very upset when they found out they were eating those wasps or whatever those bugs were. Cockroaches or some shit.
That's a danger of a tangent, but have you seen that show at all?
I haven't, no.
I haven't either, and I'm not...
But I do like Jennifer Connelly, but I haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah, I'm not super interested, but that original movie I loved.
Yeah, it was really good.
And I didn't even know who Bong Joon-ho was at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2048...
I'm not too knowledgeable about foreign films, unfortunately. It just never grabbed onto me that I need to delve into that. But I know some things here and there,
Here and there.
Every year I see a couple more, that I never saw before. So,
yeah,
little by little, I might have a little more knowledge of it. I just know there's such a world of film out there. And here we are in our podcast talking about this American films that we all grew up with, It's like there's so many more out there. I don't even know how we can possibly cover it. I don't know how we can possibly delve into it unless you just sit in a room and you just watch each country's films, for 5 years straight or something like that.
That's interesting. Well, eventually we will run out of sequels. It will happen.
I'm just saying, Australia has a thriving film thing. Like, we got to get into that. South Korea has a huge, and Japan and
and then France and
Turkey probably has a number of films. You know what I mean? The Middle East has a lot of films.
I saw a tweet about the BAFTAs coming out and people being offended at certain British movies that I'd never heard of not being picked. And I was just like, all right, you British guys and your weird British movies. Like, I'm sure.
Well, you know what? Maybe that wasn't info for us. For some reason, we got those articles, but we weren't really supposed to see them. That's just, if you're in Great Britain, that's for you to read.
Yes.
Not for us.
Not for us. But I want to know. I want to know about British cinema. Okay. And then there's one more short film, which is Dave Bautista, a year before the movie starts, and he's working as a designer, kind of the way that the subcontractors in the first movie were. He made, God, I forget what they were. I think little animals, and he's off selling them, and then this family that he likes is being harassed by a gang, and so he murders the entire gang.
Wow.
And so he is forced to run away, and you see somebody finding his paper that he dropped and saying, "Hey, I know where this guy is."
Okay.
Which kind of sets the stage for Blade Runner 2049. I challenge you to say the director's name correctly on the first try.
Denis Villeneuve?
No.
Nope.
His name is Denis Villeneuve. Something like that. Yeah, I've been saying it wrong.
So the S is probably silent. That makes sense because there's only one N, so it's not Dennis.
It should be that hard because he's from Canada.
Is he really?
Yes.
I had no idea. That's so funny. Well, it's a French name.
It's a
right?
French name.
That makes sense. French Canadian.
What experience do you have with this director before we jump into the movie?
I was trying to think of what I had seen before he made this, and I can't even recall, but I know that I had seen something before he made 2049. What did he make?
So his big breakout, he had some short... his first English language film, I should say, was Prisoners.
Yeah.
It starred Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
And then he made a movie called Enemy.
Okay.
Which also, I think, had Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's some weird surrealist stuff. And then he really hits the scene with a movie I haven't seen, but I guess I need to. Sicario?
With Benicio del Toro?
Yes.
And
that's Emily Blunt.
Okay. I did see that. Yeah.
And Josh Brolin.
Yep.
Like, it's a post.
She's like an assassin kind of thing, or she works for some sort of government agency, but she's like a real trained killer.
I think she's FBI. I think Brolin is like CIA.
Okay.
And then Benicio del Toro is the mysterious killer.
Yes. So I did see that. But that is not what I was thinking, that I was like, oh, I really need to watch this guy and watch his next movie. I just remember thinking it was a cool movie, but I don't remember getting excited for anything else he would do.
It's not a movie that I thought I would ever want to see, but yeah, I'm totally...
They actually made a sequel of it, which I don't think he was involved in at all.
He was going to be, but the schedules didn't work. Because I think almost everybody came back.
So what did he make after Blade Runner?
Nothing yet.
Oh, he's doing Dune.
He's doing Dune.
That's why I know him so well now, because he's the Dune guy. That's right.
And then he made Arrival after Sicario.
Yep. I didn't see that, but I heard about it. People liked it.
Yeah, I like Arrival a lot. I'll let you borrow it sometime if you want.
Is that with Amy Adams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I won't talk about it if you've seen it. And then he's going to be doing Dune, which is being released directly to HBO Max, and he is pissed.
Sure he's not happy about that.
Super pissed. Because the goal there was to make a lot of Dune movies and to really fill out the book properly or something like that. And
well, let me tell you something, Denny. They weren't going to make any more.
I think
because you know what? It's going to be a modest success, I think.
I think we're going to see a lot of filmmakers leave Warner Brothers for their decision to do this.
Well, that's cool, because there'll be some openings for other filmmakers to get in there if they want.
Like Christopher Nolan has made every movie at Warner Brothers for a long time, and it almost feels like he's gonna jump ship. We'll see what actually happens, but who knows? Anyway, I like this guy, and I was excited when he was doing Blade Runner, So Blade Runner 2049, do you want to run through the plot of this one?
This is, again, another film that seems to be complicated. Like, it looks to be complicated, and you really got to pay attention. But it's actually pretty straightforward, yet again, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dave Bautista is a replicant. Ryan Gosling is a Blade Runner who is also very clearly a replicant.
Yes.
Designed basically as a Blade Runner to go hunt down other replicants. So that's the first set piece, is that we see him taking out Dave Bautista, right?
Yep, first thing. But hey, real quick, so replicants
I was on a roll.
Replicants are still illegal, but they have replicants working with the police department to hunt down other replicants. Where do you think they got that idea? Anyway, go ahead.
I still stand by that Deckard is human, but humans have faults. So in the year 2049, they're a little better at what they do, and they're like, if we want to do this properly, we need to match up people that can actually take them out. That's what we'll have a replicant be, a Blade Runner. My question was, they were illegal because there was a big brouhaha with them getting out of control, right? That's how the first Blade Runner came about.
Yep.
Is that they made these replicants and they were like, whoa, no. They're illegal. So are they even illegal on the off-world planets, or they're just illegal to be on Earth?
I think they're just illegal to be on Earth. But wait, maybe that's not the case anymore.
I thought that they were just illegal all over the place.
No, like the new ones.
And then the Tyrell Corporation basically folds.
Yeah.
Because they're just completely illegal. They don't survive because all the replicants are illegal. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that part was absolutely true. But I don't know about the new Wallace models.
Yeah, so Wallace is the guy that comes and buys the Tyrell Corporation to reinvigorate this replicant. And that's what I didn't understand, is I was like, I guess he convinced the governments that he should be allowed to make replicants again, and they went along with it. Mm-hmm. So he just basically started it up again. So they're still working on off-world things, right?
Yep. Like he mentions at some point how many planets they're on now, and how many, like, he can't produce replicants fast enough for the expansion.
And I think that replicants are completely legal as long as they were made by Wallace. But the older models that weren't are the ones that are being hunted and killed.
Yes, thank you.
That's what I think that is.
Yeah.
So I think Bautista is an old model made by the original Tyrell Corporation.
Yeah, he was like a Nexus 7 or 8.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But humans don't like them anyways.
Right.
They're shitty about Ryan Gosling. They spit in his face, things like that. So even though they're illegal, they're like a second-class citizen, That's how people treat them. So he kills Bautista, and this movie had issues. Is the way I feel about it. You know how I can't think of what the phrase I'm trying to say, but when like trying to connect two things together, it just stretched believability for me. Yeah. Walking back to my car, oh, is that, I see a flower on the ground, and that leads him to immediately call a dig service out there, and they find a box under this old tree.
Well, his drone saw the box.
Not until he asked the drone to do a 6-foot deep scan of the ground around the tree. It just was like, I'm like, okay, maybe a detective would do that. Maybe that's something they would do. It just kind of was like, well, that's coincidental that this idea you had followed through.
There's a lot of coincidental in this movie.
Exactly. That's kind of what it's a failure in screenwriting, in my opinion.
Agreed.
At numerous times. That's why the movie is not perfect in my eyes, although it's still a cool looking movie, and it's a fun movie. Anyway, so they find bones in that box, and it turns out that the bones are from a replicant, even though it died during childbirth, which apparently replicants were never designed to reproduce. So that is a amazing discovery that could upend the world, I guess, in some way or whatever. So they also find out that it's Rachel, right? Pretty quickly, I think they find out that those bones are Rachel from the first movie, the replicant. They didn't know she was a replicant that Deckard ended up falling in love with, correct?
Yep.
So where's the child? They don't know. There's a child out there that was born of a human and a replicant, and they want to find it to dissect it, basically. Or maybe it was a child born from two replicants. I don't know if it's as big a deal then, personally. I think it needs to be born half human, half replicant for Wallace to care as much as he would. That's just my opinion.
Stretching credibility real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
One of the credited writers of the screenplay is the same writer who wrote the original.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Anyway,
That's cool.
continue.
Oh, the second part is so he finds the flower on the ground, leads him to discover bones buried under the earth, because that's the way his brain works. And then the scientist, looking at the bones very closely, doesn't, in all of his years of schooling and experience, is like, well, I gotta go get a coffee now. Ryan Gosling's like, let me take over. Oh, look what I found. She's a fucking replicant. You didn't find that. I found it just because I had a hunch. Okay, that's the second part that bothered me. All right, whatever, fine. We're moving the plot forward. Somebody found out she was a replicant. I guess it could be Ryan Gosling. Whatever. So anyways, he's tasked with finding the child by Robin Wright, who's been in a lot of movies we've been covering lately.
Yeah.
Who's the police chief of the LAPD. And she's very concerned that the world cannot find out that replicants can reproduce, or this would be a big problem. But you know what I think? Replicants can't reproduce, but a human and a replicant can reproduce. Let me just throw that out there. Because why would a replicant be able to reproduce? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure if they're not going to give a replicant female the ability to have a baby, they're probably not going to give a replicant male the ability to have sperm.
It's almost like Tyrell,
That's all I'm saying.
Who was messing with these things constantly and created Rachel specially using the memories of his own family.
Yeah.
Messed with her just a little, and then maybe he messed a little with the replicant that he had to reprogram for the police. Maybe he did that too.
Oh yeah, and then coincidentally, they got together
somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe Tyrell pushed her to go after Deckard. I guess you could say that. I just don't think it works unless one of them's human. That's all I'm saying. That's how a replicant's able to reproduce.
I'm sorry.
I'll just stick with that. Anyway. Okay, so then this leads into a I need to find the child kind of thing. And I guess I'm a little fuzzy about what happens next, but that's what Ryan Gosling is tasked with. So he goes to the Wallace Corporation to get info on it. He meets the badass chick who's like the newer version of Rachel.
Yes, exactly.
You know, but she's dangerous, right? From when you get a first look at her, she's like, oh, this woman's serious. But that's how they all learn out that I guess that's how Wallace learns that there's a child out there now. Or did he always know?
No, she is tracking him through his girlfriend, his fake girlfriend.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling has a hologram girlfriend
That apparently
yes.
Lots of people have, but
Yeah.
we see later on that she's been spying on him the whole time through her.
I don't want to, like, I know that she's using him to find the child after, but I just mean, did Wallace and that woman, that replicant, know that Rachel Deckard child existed before Ryan Gosling went to Wallace and had her look up the file? Or is
fuzzy.
that the moment they both find out?
It's very fuzzy.
I feel like they knew that there was some legend about a child being born, and he's never been able to get any clue about it. And this is the first time that, coincidentally, somebody came to him with some info about it, and now he's like, we have to find that child because I need to know what this is now. Now that a replicant is reproduced, I want to know what this is, because he's more Dr. Moreau than Tyrell was, you know?
Yeah, his goal is so that to really cut down on production costs, why not just have his replicants fuck?
Yeah, exactly, right?
And that would make a ton more.
Right. So what is her name? Because I need to know her name. The replicant that works for Tyrell. And Ryan Gosling is Officer K, so I'll call him K. Because he just has a number designation. He was never given a name. And he lives a very lonely life.
Yes, he does.
On Earth with a hologram girlfriend he can't touch. And he has no personality or emotions whatsoever, which I guess is keeping in with being a replicant. But if you want somebody with no emotion to star in your film, well, you couldn't pick anybody better than Ryan Gosling. That's how I feel.
I was spending a lot of time thinking about this when you mentioned it to me for the first time, and yeah, he can sometimes come across as a little lifeless.
Yeah, it's not like I dislike him. I just do feel like he has no charisma in my mind whatsoever.
I have a hard time. All right, I'm gonna say some names. Tell me if something clicks. Joy? No, it's not Joy. Love.
Joy's the hologram.
Yeah, I've got a Love.
I would say Louvre.
Louvre,
maybe. LUV. I think that might be her. The replicant that helps out Wallace. She gives him info that Deckard was the one that did the scan, because we're seeing the scan that Deckard did from the original movie, and we're hearing Harrison Ford, do the scan on Rachel. That's how they put it together, that she's an old model. And then Wallace is able to follow Officer K as he's going to find this child. So it's like, he's going to do the work for us. Just keep an eye on him. So the woman replicant steals the bones.
It is LUV.
LUV. So let's just call her Love. So Love steals the bones. She wants to cover it up as well. She's trying to get information about where the child is. They're just letting Kay do his job in order to try to find this child. Oh, he meets this woman who creates memories. Yeah. That's after. Before that. How do we get from there? How after he leaves Wallace, does that when he starts to go to where the orphanage was, basically?
He hits a dead end, so he goes back to where Dave Bautista was living.
Yes.
And he finds a tin inside of the piano that got missed, and that had a baby sock.
Yes.
And then he notices a date. And the date
on the
shocks
tree.
him
to
his core.
That's right.
And it's supposed to signify when the baby was born.
06/10/21, I believe.
Something along those. Yeah. It was this year.
So he's not even born yet.
Yeah.
Or she.
And he then takes that info. Oh, and then he burns everything.
Yeah. Although she told him to burn it. Robin Wright told him to burn it, everything. Destroy everything. So...
and he's hanging out with his girlfriend, and she's talking about the significance of the date, and he doesn't want to admit it, but he has this memory of a toy horse he had as a child.
When he was growing up in some
orphanage.
Mad Max type orphanage.
Yes, and it had the same date.
Fighting for survival.
And this leads him to investigate where memory implants for replicants come from. And he meets a woman who is stuck in a glass dome.
It's like she's a bubble girl.
She is a bubble girl, yeah.
Like she has some sort of issue, right?
She's
some sort of medical
compromised,
condition? Yeah. So she creates memories there.
Yep. She's also a subcontractor for Wallace, which I love that concept.
So it follows that concept. I like
her
that.
name was Dr. Anna Stelline.
Okay. And he basically asks her if this memory he has is true. And through her magical viewing device, she's able to see his memories, I guess, through his eyeballs or something. And she tells him, yes, this one's a real memory. And this is the first part of the movie where my pet peeve number 2 with movies comes in, is when two people are face to face in a movie and one of them doesn't tell them important information. They hold it till later so we have more drama to get to. Because if she had told him right there and then an important piece of, yes, this memory is true, and followed it up with where it came from, it would have saved a lot of time.
Yes, but
you can't do that because there would have been any more drama or plot to get to.
No, she couldn't do that because it's illegal to use real memories. And so if she admitted that
she is speaking to an officer.
Yes, she's talking to a cop. She's not going to admit she committed a crime. She's just going to say cleanly, yes, this is a real memory somebody put in you.
Right. But his reaction to it should have clued her off that he feels like this is his real memory.
Right.
So she just lets him go.
Yeah, she just lets him go.
It just bothered me, all right?
Yeah.
Just.
And at this point, he is off the rails.
Yeah.
Like he is immediately arrested because replicants have a system for knowing if a replicant is behaving properly.
Right. And similar to that test that they gave in the first movie.
Yeah. Exactly. And so he fails this test, which basically means he's going to be killed. Robin Wright gives him 48 hours to get his shit together, take up one more test. After that, it's out of her hands.
Yeah. Now, why does she do that?
Because she likes him. Yeah.
Okay. Because he said that I found the child, is what he tells her. It's all taken care of.
Yeah, he lies
and
to her.
That's why she gives him,
And because he thinks that it's him, and so he tells her that he killed it.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know if we made that clear. He thinks that he is the child of Deckard and Rachel.
Yes.
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 Because that birthday is a memory he has, and if the memory is real, then it must be his real memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that's before he actually goes to the place where he remembers growing up into this orphanage area.
Yep,
like
this is
like
that
the
point
shitty
where-
projects.
This is the point where the girlfriend says, cut off my antenna so nobody can follow or track us.
Yes.
And that's when we learn that she's been spying on him using her.
Right.
And then the two of them, so she's disconnected from the internet.
The person, Wallace Corporation, has been spying on him.
Yes.
Through
Love.
the
has
hologram.
been.
Love, yes.
Yes. And so he disconnects his girlfriend from the internet. So if she dies, she's dead forever, just like a real person.
Mm-hmm.
And they go looking for this orphanage. Oh, because they go through the DNA records for everybody that was born on that date. And there were 2 records that were identical,
Yes.
which is impossible. And they signaled that they were at an orphanage. So they go to this orphanage.
Yeah. Before that happens, Joy, his hologram, who is really in love with him for being a computer program, goes and gets your favorite person.
Oh my God, I love her. I
To
forgot.
be her kind of stand-in. Like, she hires this, like, prostitute.
Mackenzie
basically.
Davis.
Kenzie Davis. And they kind of, like, pleasure him, basically, like, together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a bizarre feature, but I was like, all right, that's cool. So a hologram was able to use her in order to, have sex with Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, like
So that's how she's introduced, Mackenzie Davis, who
Yes.
just seems like just a friendly prostitute.
that entire plot line is the one plot line I would have cut from this movie and brought this movie closer to 2 hours.
Yep. So she acts like she's not a replicant, Mackenzie Davis, right? Isn't that the idea?
She
Like
acts
she
like
wants
she is
him to
not.
believe that she's not.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
she totally is.
But she probably is. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So anyways, he goes to this like orphanage, which is just another word for child labor sweatshop, I guess,
Yup.
where they're making Walkmans or something, whatever they're making. I don't know.
If you noticed, I don't know if this is a dig at, where was it, San Diego?
Yeah.
It was the San Diego waste disposal area. So they had this orphanage in the middle of the trash heap.
Right.
And it's kind of fun. He immediately gets shot down.
Yeah. Because there's scavengers that live there still. There's like people that are outside. It's like Judge Dredd, remember? Like the outside families that were living outside the mega cities. It's kind of similar. It's kind of what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So they shoot him down. They want to like rob him. They want to do whatever to him. And Wallace, who's been watching over him basically because they want him to find the child, helps him out with some drones and kills everybody because they want him to
launches
live.
a missile strike.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, get up, you got things to do, so he doesn't know who's looking out for him, but somebody's looking out for him. So anyways, so he finds that whoever was born on that day, who he believes to be Deckard and Rachel's child, has been like scrubbed from history, basically. Like people don't want anybody to know about this person. So like all the, I don't know, it gets a little complicated, and that like the leader of the sweatshop keeps records and shit. Like he doesn't seem like the kind of person that would keep records really that well.
Doesn't seem like it. Nope.
But he does, and all the records are gone anyways. But then this leads Ryan Gosling to be like, well, this is my memory of being here. And he finds the little toy that's in his memory that has the date on it. It really exists the way he remembers it.
Yeah.
So he's convinced he's the child.
That's absolutely right. And then he flies back. And
Yeah, he goes back.
this is my biggest issue with logical stretches in
This
the
is
movie.
another logical stretch that they find the radiation amount in that toy
Yep. So real
must have
wood.
come from Las Vegas.
Yep. There's only one place with that level of radiation that would
Right.
be inside of a tree.
So somebody whittled this thing from a tree that came from Vegas is what it's telling him.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, let's follow that lead up. Yeah, I was like, that's like number 3 or 4 to me, that it's a real stretch. But I
So
was like, all right.
he
fine.
flies to Vegas.
Yep.
And he searches for life. And he lands where he sees some thermal signatures.
I
And
did like this, though. This was nice. The bee colony.
the bees.
There's no life there, but he sees all kinds of weird life from his scan, and it turns out it's a bee colony. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, because Deckard, who he ends up finding living there, is, he makes his own honey.
Yeah.
So he finds them in the old casino, basically, in Vegas.
Yep, and Deckard's just been living in this radiation zone safely somehow.
Yeah, is it like a World War III kind of thing? Like America got bombed?
No, the whole planet's just wrecked, and again...
But it's radioactive, isn't it?
It's not anymore, but at some point it was.
So was it bombed out, or... I don't know.
No.
Nobody lives there, and that's how he's able to hide away. Deckard knew that he'd be hunted all these years, so he's just hiding away.
Yeah, in a radiation zone. I wonder how a normal human could do that without getting cancer and dying.
I don't know. That's true. But here's, again, where people look at each other, and they just don't say what they should say, because if they say that, there won't be a fun action piece. So Deckard comes up behind Ryan Gosling, Officer K, and instead of Kay turning around and going, I'm here to talk to you about your daughter, he doesn't say anything and just lets fucking Deckard try to kill him. And they have to run through the casino. And then you get holograms of Elvis singing, and then Deckard has to punch him out a couple times. And yet Ryan Gosling says nothing, only, I'm not going to fight you. And then when Deckard realizes there's nothing, they're at a standstill, let's get a drink. Gosling's like, hey, I want to talk to you about your daughter. That's the whole reason I came here. And I'm like, why don't you just fucking say that to him before this whole thing? I hate that.
Something I really appreciated in that action set piece is that Deckard absolutely is just shooting to kill. He's shooting right away, and he's just trying to kill this guy, and it's great. I love bloodthirsty Harrison Ford.
Well, I'll give you this. He's acting like a replicant because he knows what it's like to come... to kill somebody comes. When they find you, they're not there to talk to you. They're there to kill you. That's what his job was this whole time as a Blade Runner. So he knows that this guy is there to kill him. Maybe because he assumes he's a replicant, or he doesn't know why he's there. He obviously didn't know he was there because he wanted to talk about his kid. But that's what it ends up. He talks to his kid. Deckard gives it up that there was a daughter. Or no, he doesn't. He doesn't say daughter. He says there was a kid, right? Because Ryan Gosling still thinks.
He wasn't even there when the child was born.
Yeah, he thinks that he's Harrison Ford's son, basically. Yep. Yeah, so he's a little angry about that. Hey, why weren't you around, Dad? That kind of thing. Although they never come out to say it. And then it turns out that Wallace basically they've been watching Kay, and Kay didn't exactly find the child, but he did find Deckard, and that's good enough for them.
Well, no, at this point, Robin Wright has been murdered by Love.
Yes,
and that's how they track him to Vegas, and that's when they all. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, right. Because when he destroyed Joy, the home Joy version of his Amazon Echo,
yes,
they weren't able to track him anymore. I gotcha. So then So Love is at a loss. Like she's at a dead end.
Yeah.
Now.
So she goes to
that's
his
why
apartment,
she goes and kills.
And then she
Robin
goes
Wright.
to Robin Wright, and then she kills her, and then she tracks him.
Gotcha. So then they attack and they kidnap Deckard. Even though Officer K tries to fight and save him from being kidnapped, he still gets kidnapped. Here's another part that I really hate. There's no reason to keep him alive.
Yeah, there's no reason not to.
She doesn't kill him. He'll probably die. He won't be a problem later on in the movie.
Yep.
So then they just leave with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, they just leave him for dead. And here's one of my problems with the movie. All of a sudden, my favorite person... Mackenzie Davis.
Oh, yeah, right.
And their whole underground tribe of replicants come and save him from Vegas?
Yeah, so there's a whole underground movement of replicants that are trying to rise above, and they know that Kay will be useful to them. Somehow they've been tracking him, too, and went all the way to Vegas as well. And why Mackenzie Davis is working as a prostitute in New York, or LA. Yeah. I don't know why.
Well, she's probably a pleasure bot, man. But
yeah,
they fix up Ryan Gosling, and this is where they lay down the hard truth. The child that was born was a girl.
Yep. It's not Ryan Gosling. You thought it was you. We've all hoped it was us, but we all know it wasn't. He was just implanted with that memory as well.
And this is where the full reveal comes that they hid the girl in a way where she would never be found, and it clicks to him that the girl in the bubble is the daughter.
Yep. And if she had just told him, you know, that's my memory.
Yep.
But I get you when you say that it's illegal to use your own memories. So, you know, she probably wouldn't have given that up, but it could have saved a lot of time.
This is like logical infallacy number 8, I think. They're the odds that the memory you decide to implant in a replicant happens to show up in a cop who happens to go and take out Dave Bautista, who happened to be around when your mom was giving birth. The odds of that are insane.
Right. How does he get the bone? Like, why are the bones buried there? He's part of that revolution as well. So what they're saying is that Deckard and Rachel, after leaving Blade Runner 1982, they hooked up with this underground revolution. Maybe even started the underground revolution. I don't know. Somehow they got involved with it.
Something.
So then the woman that gives the hard truth to Kay, the leader of this group, along with Mackenzie Davis, they were there when that child was born. They helped Deckard and Rachel survive. And then they pulled a Skywalker, Obi-Wan kind of thing where they didn't want, you know, they didn't want Luke and Leia to be known to Vader. So they came up with a plan where Deckard should leave.
Yep.
You know, in order to keep this child safe, you need to be gone because they're going to be looking for you. So you can never know this child. And, then we're going to take the child and hide her away somewhere else. I don't know, because the mother died in childbirth. So that's just what it felt like to me, is that there's this whole scheme to keep it away from the Empire.
Yep. That's pretty spot on. And I like that detail that knowing the baby's birthday, that means that they had 2 years together. They had 2 good years, and that was it.
Right. And I like Deckard in this. Like it worked for me because I see how this hard choice he had to make in life has and will continue to bother him his whole life. But he's doing what he believes is right. So he's never known his child, and he's always stayed away. And he's loved this woman this whole time, and yet he only had 2 years with her, maybe, you know.
Harrison Ford's another one of those hard ones for me where I can't always tell if they're doing a good job acting. And I think he's doing a good job here.
Yeah, he's not given much to do, but what he has, it just looks like there's a lifetime of regret in his face, you know, and hurt. So I think he pulls that off well, you know.
So are you ready for the unsaid Deckard let's pause right here where they've kidnapped him. They've fixed up Gosling and he knows that he's not special. So Gosling early on in the movie, he goes and he visits Edward James Olmos in the old folks home.
Yep, that's right. He makes another appearance in this movie.
Like the entire reason that he is in this movie is just for the Deckard is a replicant crowd.
Okay, I'm with you.
And here we go. He liked to work alone, and so did I, because they have the same memories. And here we go.
So we work together to keep it that way. Anything else you can tell me? He wasn't long for this world.
He wasn't long for this world because he's a replicant. Huh?
Also, something in his eyes.
Something in his eyes because of the glow.
Any idea how I could contact him? But he's nucleish. Retired.
He was retired. The word they used for killing the replicants.
Yeah, but he's not retired.
Well, he's not, but Edward James almost doesn't have a way of knowing that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, is there anything else?
Probably got what he wanted.
And then Edward James almost puts down another piece of origami thing.
Yeah.
And so, having Edward James Olmos's memories, what do you think that Harrison Ford as Deckard is going to be drawn to do?
Origami?
Or do something with shapes. And so,
yeah, right.
What is Deckard's house full of whittled
little
animals?
Yeah, that's true. You see it as proof that Deckard is a replica. I see it as the filmmakers fucking with us.
Oh no, it's there entirely for that reason, though. Like that
just
scene,
to mess with us.
Yeah, that scene means nothing other than that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I just think it's another just to keep the conversation going on is he or is he not.
Every
I just don't believe he is. I just think that Deckard. I just think that almost believes he is. Maybe
is the Earth
he doesn't
flat
know.
or round, Aaron? Is it flat or round?
If it's not in the movie, it's not in the movie, and I think this is just their way of just keeping the conversation going a little longer.
Whatever, man. All right. So next in the movie, Deckard is taken to Wallace to be interrogated.
Yeah.
And Wallace is just as bad as Tyrell in terms of just being the Dr. Moreau, because he makes him another fucking Rachel.
Yeah.
Like that's going to make him happy. And
like I will give you this Rachel if you tell me where the child is. Is basically what he's doing.
I'll give you a free model. You know, they're usually really expensive. This one,
pretty good facsimile or whatever of Sean Young, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess I read that they actually brought Sean Young back to coach that actress.
Really?
So she would have the same way of speaking and facial tics and stuff like that. Yeah,
nice.
So she's still around.
But yeah, they had so little data, it was the wrong eye color. And
yes, that's right.
Then Love shoots her unceremoniously in the head.
Yeah, the second replicant, he's just killed like he just made some artwork that he didn't like and tore up a canvas or something, you know? Now, why did he kill the first replicant? I think it was just for our benefit of seeing a replicant being created, basically, and how weird he is, you know? And then he just slices her up. I feel like because she wasn't perfect, and that's how he is when he creates replicants. He likes to meet them. He likes to meet every one of them, is what they made it sound like. And if they don't pass his approval, he just kills them. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but at this point, I hate Jared Leto. Like I hate
his character or just him
and the way that he approaches acting. He has to make every person that he plays fucking bananas. And it's too much for me.
Well, does he turn those characters into his acting, or do they write characters like that and then they're like, Jared Leto's got to play this guy?
Who's the creepiest fuck we know?
Exactly. But see, Leto is the creepy fuck, but he's like a good-looking guy, so it's kind of like you get both. You're like, wait, we can have like normally a creepy fuck in a movie wouldn't be this stylish or something, or wouldn't be this, you know, good-looking. So we can bring him in as we can have both. Like that's Hollywood nowadays, you know.
Like he's a good actor. I respect him, but I just.
Did you see that McConaughey film he was in where he played the like the AIDS patient? You know, and he was like super thin.
No.
$1 million something or something billion.
That's a boxing movie.
Yeah, something like with the word million in it. I feel like.
Did you?
He was really good, and it was out of character, and it was very, 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 very well done. Well deserved, I thought, as an Oscar winner for that film. So.
Did you see the new one that just came out? Like the
one with Freddie Mercury actor.
Yeah, he's
that
in
just
that.
came out on Warner Brothers. Yeah,
it just came out.
I didn't see it.
I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard. Oh yeah, Denzel Washington.
Okay, because Leto's in that, is what you mean.
Yeah, it's Leto, Denzel Washington, and Rami Malek.
Malek. Yep.
And it looks good. I think I'm going to like The Little Things.
The Little Things. Yep.
They do call it like a throwback to 90s movies, like Seven.
Well, I do like that. I miss those movies.
And they say it sounds like a pretty decent popcorn movie, but somebody said, yeah, the movie's going along, and then 40 minutes in, Jared Leto shows up as a janitor, and you just fucking know that he's the killer.
Right. That's funny. So Deckard doesn't go along with this plan. He's not going to give up the child just because, and frankly, I don't even think he doesn't know where she is, you know, like,
yeah, he didn't know,
or if it's even a she.
He didn't know where the child was, but he could give up clues to where some of this rebellion was.
Yes.
And that could lead to the baby. That's why the rebellion actually tries to get Agent K, Joe, to kill Deckard.
Which is kind of a little request, but from their mind, it made sense. Like, look, he would want this too. He knows he's a threat to this child. If he is interrogated and gives up, you know, info, you got to go kill him. So that's what they task Kay for. But I don't know if Kay's ever down with that, but he's just like, I just need to rescue him.
Yeah, and so
Anyway.
Wallace is about to send Deckard off planet where there's torture laws are a lot more lenient.
Right. This is like number 6 or 7 of my, oh, Jesus. Look, we can't torture you here. I just got the place cleaned up. The machine we need is somewhere else, so we're going to send you away.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Just plot. Just for move the movie along, you know. We need some way for Kay to intercept this transport. And that's exactly what happens. Kay intercepts, shoots him down, however that happens. But then there's this big set piece where he has to fight Love in the water while Harrison Ford's almost drowning. And then number 8, number 9, number 10 of impractical screenwriting. She doesn't kill him yet again, even though Love gets the upper hand. She's like, oh, he'll probably die. I'll just leave you in the water here. And now I'm going to get Harrison Ford. And oh, surprise! Kay's still alive. He ends up killing her. He rescues Harrison Ford.
Yep.
There you go.
And then we wrap up the movie with Kay.
Mortally wounded Kay.
Kay driving Deckard. And this is a problem for me, too, because there's still some danger. Wallace is still alive.
Right.
And in charge of lots of people.
According to Officer K, it's all taken care of because you're dead.
Oh, yeah, they faked
But
his
how is
death.
that possible? There's no body that's going to be found.
I know.
I didn't understand that either. It just felt like don't ask too many questions kind of part of the movie.
Like, so he takes him to go meet his daughter.
Yep.
And Kay dies on the steps outside.
Apparently.
Enjoying,
Although he doesn't have to. I mean, I don't know if he has to or not.
enjoying the snow or something.
Yeah.
And then
It just looked cool, and it's a good way for him to just lay back and have a good last scene. But whether he dies or not, I don't know is important.
And then Deckard just walks in to this doctor and like, who let him in? Can anybody
what's he
just
gonna say?
walk in?
Yeah, yes, you can.
And he's just like, hey. And he's,
Yeah, basically.
yeah. And that's the end of the movie.
So he has a happy ending, which I appreciated. I thought this made up for his death in Force Awakens, which I was never cool with. There was no reason to kill him off other than he apparently asked to be.
Yeah. He finally gets to be the replicant daddy that his replicant daughter never got to have. And
I just don't think she needs a replicant father. I think she needs a human father, and that's who Deckard is.
Hey, are you trying to suggest that replicants can't be good parents right now? That's really replicant racist. Okay, you're grouping a whole people into one stereotype. Replicants can be good parents, Aaron.
I just don't see it. As far as the world of the movies are concerned, he's human. He's not a replicant.
Studio interference.
Yeah.
So yeah, Denis Villeneuve, or however the hell you say his name, I apologize. He makes some really great thought-provoking movies, and this budget is estimated between $150 and $185 million.
Way too much.
And it pulled in 260, so I'm not even sure that would.
No, I don't think that even covers promotion.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like they usually spend about 75 mil on promotion, something like that.
Yeah,
so you really need to clear your main budget, and then they really need to clear probably like 225, 250 in order to feel like they even made a profit.
So this movie probably broke even if it was lucky. Because this movie was definitely pushed.
Well, you know, I mean, and critically, I think it did okay, despite all the flaws. I still think it's a pretty good film. It's definitely stylish, and they do a fantastic way of blending the two films' worlds together. You know, you see it as a nice continuation of the first one, and the music's similar, and I liked all that. And Roger Deakins, who shot the film, you know, he won an Oscar for it, which is really cool.
Yeah, because the Deke, he's some of the best. But no, yeah.
I mean, I just know him from all the Coen Brothers movies we'd watch. You know, like it was not always Deakins, but it was a lot of his films. Or his work on those films.
I feel like these movies do an excellent job of building a world and then giving you a little detective story that they run around inside of it.
Yeah, I think the world may be the most memorable part of these movies, more so than the actual story.
It absolutely is, and because I think the premise, the whole thing is just, we already talked about it, but yeah, it's kind of shoehorned, and it takes it from a 5-star movie down to like a 4-star movie.
Yeah.
It's
right.
yeah. So you like it? You're a fan, or did you?
Yeah,
just...
I'm a fan. I liked it. It's a little long.
It's a little long, and I was trying really hard to think of what could be cut.
Yeah, Blade Runner is the theatrical version, I think, is a pretty svelte film. You know, like it moves and it's over, and it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel like you say it should be cut, and I agree with you that Rebellion, but I feel like companies nowadays, like movie studios, there's just certain things they keep in movies because you never know if it'll be a franchise. And I think that's just in their head. We always need to be thinking franchise. If this is a massive success, it could be a 3-picture movie. So we got to keep that Rebellion in there because that could be a follow-up story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could absolutely see that.
So I think that's why those kind of things are included. They want to expand it a little more, even though it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the plot.
This did the same thing that Force Awakens did. You take a movie, you push it 30 years in the future, and then you kind of shoehorn in these connections to the original where they weren't necessary.
Yeah.
You could have had a completely different story set in the Blade Runner universe that would have been equally as good without having Harrison Ford in there at all.
I thought it didn't bother me. It didn't ruin the first movie to bring him back and finish his story. So that was okay.
Yeah, no. I enjoyed the movie overall.
Right.
It is a little long and some stuff is stretching believability, but outside of that, yeah.
What do you know much about the film or about the book, the Dick book?
No, I haven't read it. It's just a short story, isn't it?
It's funny to say. Yeah, maybe a novella or something. Maybe it's just a short story. I know a lot of his work mostly from old radio shows and stuff.
Really?
Like a lot, yeah. In the 50s, like X-1 and Dimension X. Those are two that he would write for. So a couple of his stories. Well, I don't know if he didn't write for those shows, but they would turn his stories into those shows. So I'm familiar with that. I did read a little bit about the book, though, and one thing I wish they would have put in Blade Runner is the sheep. And Edward James Olmos makes a little sheep origami. And that was just like a nice little Easter egg that he made, that it was a sheep that he made into an origami. But in the book, and I only read this once, but I have to remember, is that animals don't exist anymore in this world. They've all died off. So there's clones of animals, but they're very expensive. So Deckard owns a sheep, and he wants to buy another one, so it has a companion. That's why he takes a further Blade Runner job.
Really?
Because he wants to buy a sheep for his sheep. He wants to buy a companion sheep, which I just thought was amazing. Anyway, so that's obviously where the title comes from. You know, do androids dream of electric sheep and stuff like that.
Did you watch Electric Dreams, the Amazon series?
No, I haven't yet.
It's actually really, really worth checking out.
Those are like an anthology show of his stories, right?
Yep, it's all just each episode is one of his short stories, and
so they probably do this one.
I don't know. I haven't watched them all. But I did specifically watch one about a dystopian future where one company ran everything, and it's a series produced by Amazon. How Amazon is the dystopian company. And you have these like drones that are dropping off products to stores that don't exist anymore because the factory still works.
Oh my God.
And people shoot down the drones and get whatever they can out of the boxes, and it's like clothes and whatever, and
that is nuts.
It's a really, like, you would like it. Like the production value is there and the acting is there. It's fun. There's
one story from the radio show X-1. I think Phil Dick is the one that it's based on. It's called like There Will Come Soft Rains. This might be a Ray Bradbury one, but it's about an automated house, and it's a day in the life of an automated house where it like wakes the family up and raises the blinds, and it talks to it, you know, and it like makes breakfast and it does this and that. And then you find out that there's no family there and there's been a nuclear war, and this house is just doing it every day because it's been programmed to do it, but everybody's dead, and all that exists are the ash shadows that are on the walls where the nuclear weapon destroyed, you know, the family, you know, like in Hiroshima when the bomb exploded over the city.
Right.
people close to the epicenter, all that would be left is their shadows, basically, like sprayed on brick walls and stuff. So that's what you find out about the show. But it's really good, and I think that's a Dick story. It might be a Bradbury one, but
That sounds like a Dick story.
so that is what it reminds me of. That there's these drones that are still doing their job, even though the companies are long out of business or something.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anyway, yeah, sci-fi, man. I think all these guys like Bradbury and Dick and Asimov, I mean, they all wrote everything that we see. Every sci-fi thing you see nowadays is pretty much stuff that they wrote in the 50s,
Which
in
is
the 60s.
just
and that's
insane.
There's nothing more than anybody comes up with.
Yeah,
They
like
just keep reusing those things.
where is our current sci-fi that pushes the ideas further? Yeah,
I'm sure there's a lot of it, but
that we just don't.
it's hard not to watch something and go like, oh, that's like this one,
Yeah,
It's probably hard for somebody to come up with something new without being compared to something else.
yeah, and that's actually Ridley Scott's fault because he did
right.
it all better first.
True.
So overall, yes, I like these movies, and
Yes. They're good
fantastic.
companion films.
Yeah.
I think they're perfectly fine.
So thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yes, thank you very
Next
much.
week we cover. Do you remember what we're covering?
I don't know. You tell me what it is every time we come on here, and I'm like, oh, okay.
We are switching into the realm of horror
Oh.
to cover Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead series.
Oh. Right.
Films I have not revisited in years, and I'm very excited to get into. So we have Evil Dead 2, and then Army of Darkness.
Yep. Now, Evil Dead 2 is our show. That'll be what this is about.
On the schedule, we have
Or Army of Darkness included.
it combined, but yeah, we can totally break that up into 2 episodes. It really depends on how much we have to say.
I feel like that's probably a one-off. I feel like,
I think it could be a one-off. And directly after that, we're sticking with Raimi, and we'll be covering the
Spider-Man.
2000s Spider-Man films.
Yeah. 2002, I believe, is when the first one came out.
Yeah. Very excited to dig into those again. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up for Aaron and Justin Talk sequels, and I hope you stay with us. Until then, I'm Justin.
I'm Aaron. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. And if you're watching or listening on iTunes, please rate, review, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Follow us on Twitter at Aaron and Justin. That's all I got.
Send us money.
Send us money, preferably in an envelope.
All right. All right, man.
Until next time, bye.